Welcome back, my lords and ladies, to the Cast Beyond the Wall. We are your guide to all things Westerosi, and we're here to bring you a review, analysis, and fan versus fan debate on each episode of HBO's hit show Game of Thrones. And we've returned from this extra long winter haul to give you a quick refresher of Season 6 before making our predictions for the 7-episode Season 7 that lies ahead. I'm your host, Caleb Masters, and I am still picking the porn stash of Baelish to win the throne. Right now. He got sidelined last season, I know, but he's back with a vengeance this year.
I don't know. They did a lot of close-ups of that stash last season. I think it was prominently featured.
Here's the thing. The biggest threat to Petyr Baelish is a room full of incompetent writers. That's what the problem is. Joining me from the desertish lands of Arizona, not to be mistaken with Marine, sir, introduce yourself.
I am Austin Lucari, and if you guys thought I was going to change over the break, you're going to be sorely mistaken.
It's true. I had to actually drag him into this podcast once again. He was kicking and screaming and says, I can't possibly do this because you assholes will keep sending me Samwell Tarly stuff if I do.
I have a full shelf. It's above my computer. It's like a shrine of Samwell Tarly.
Joining us from the Starkish lands of Kentucky, sir, introduce yourself.
Hi, I'm Daniel Stoll, and thank goodness winter is finally here. It's been coming for 6 years.
Yeah, thanks, Game of Thrones, for giving us winter in July. Where's my Santa Claus offerings? Glad to have you back, Mr. Stoll. I hope that you have at least shed some of your naivete this season. Because,
of course not.
I don't think... I mean, I know the Stark reunion's looking pretty likely these days, but I wouldn't get your hopes up on all of them sticking around very long at all. So, once again, you can track all of our posts on the Cast Beyond the Wall on our social media channels, which include Twitter at cast_beyond_GOT and on Facebook at facebook.com/Cast Beyond the Wall or on Good Trash Media at goodtrashmedia.com. Gentlemen, it has been a long time. We haven't talked. This is the longest wait we've had to wait between Game of Thrones seasons yet. For those of you who are just tuning in for your first time, this is the 4th year we have done the Cast Beyond the Wall. Technically a 5th if you count our little pilot season. But no, since Austin, Daniel, and I have been doing this since season 4, making this the 5th season, right? 4th season? 4th season that we have done this podcast. And this actually is a great excuse to talk to Daniel and Austin. I don't get to see either of them very often. So this is our way of just kind of hanging out and talking. And we are so thrilled to be able to share the conversation with you. So once again, and you want to join the conversation, I encourage you to head on over to our social media pages. Now, we're going to go ahead here in a moment and kick off our Season 6 recap. And when I say recap, we're just going to hit the very high notes today. So today we're going to be recapping Season 6, giving our predictions, and we're going to talk about a little game that we're going to be doing this season that's going to be a little different than what we have done in past years of Game of Thrones. I think this is going to be a great episode, so I hope you'll go ahead and stay tuned for that. But without further ado, let's go ahead and jump right in to our recap.
We need to trust each other. We have so many enemies now.
The Freys and the Lannisters send their regards.
What do you want?
I thought you knew what I wanted.
Tell him what you did to her. Tell him!
Are you afraid? Good. You're in the great game now. And the great game is terrifying.
That was from Season 6 of Game of Thrones. Now, I want to remind you that if this is your first time listening and you want to refresh on all of our theories that we talked about last year, you can, of course, head on over to iTunes at Cast Beyond the Wall or Stitcher Radio, Podbean, any of those podcast applications of your choice if you want to hear of what we talked about in past years. Last year, we saw a major convergence of multiple storylines. It actually boiled all 25 storylines down to just 3. So we have the North, we've got King's Landing, and then we've got Daenerys and crossing the Narrow Sea. And there are a couple of small threads here and there, but those are pretty much our big 3 storylines, which is different because in normal Game of Thrones, we're used to having 25 branching storylines that all vaguely, loosely tie together. And that's going to change this season. We are going to see converged storylines. We're going to have more time with all of our characters. And the part I'm most excited to see is actually going to be seeing all of these characters interacting for the very first time.
That's true. That's the huge benefit is we're getting to see like all these amazing characters we've grown to love actually interact with each other and have conversations, and we get to see Tyrion be witty with people he's never been witty with before. specifically the Greyjoy, is going to be fantastic. So I'm pretty excited about it. The simplified storylines, only having 3, is much easier on my simple little brain. So I'm looking forward to it.
It sure is going to make these outlines a lot easier to make. Daniel, how about you? What are you most excited to see here coming in this coming season?
Yeah, I think you guys touched on it. All the stories are starting to come together, as Austin mentioned earlier, coming towards an end. And I'm excited to see where that takes us. Interested to see, now that the North has kind of rallied around Jon, if it's going to be different this time around, or if it's just going to be the same old, and it's just going to be the destruction of the North once again. So that'd be something I'll be looking forward to. But got some different people in charge now, with Sansa and Jon kind of taking the charge. Their mentalities have definitely changed throughout the course of the season, and maybe we'll see some different things happening up in the North this side. So that's something I'm definitely looking forward to.
I'm glad you mentioned that. We're going to go ahead and jump into the North here in one moment. But guys, I just want to say, I got to get this off my chest, and I'm going to be upfront with our listeners. I love Game of Thrones. I unabashedly love it. This is the 4th year we've done this podcast, so I better love this show. But I got to say, season 6 had the high, when the moments were high, man, it was like the best moments the show's ever had. But I gotta say, I rewatched season 6 last week to get caught up and refreshed for this upcoming season. And I gotta say, the problems that bugged me last year bugged me even more this year. I to the point where I was getting mad. And what I'm talking about is they take a lot of shortcuts with our characters, right? More so than I'm not as worried that I'm glad to see the plot is escalating and speeding up. That's fine, and it's fun in a lot of ways, and there are benefits to that for sure. But one of the drawbacks is just characters making decisions I don't think they would ever make. We saw some of this in season 5 whenever Littlefinger, Petyr Baelish, handed Sansa over to Ramsay, and either did not know that Ramsay was a sociopath or knew it and gave her to him anyway. Either way, that was a moment that I didn't really ever think was handled particularly well. But we also see it last season when Jaime goes in to take River Run, and the Blackfish is just one of the badassest characters in the universe. He gets beat. Jaime Lannister outsmarts him, which is cool. Great Jaime moment. But the problem was that he just decides I'm going to stay and die with River Run because it's my home. But it doesn't really make any sense. He has multiple opportunities to leave and doesn't. And in fact his family, Sansa Stark, needs him, and he doesn't go. In the books, he totally just runs away. So not to be that guy, but there were little things like that.
Yeah, I agree. If we're talking like overall feel of the season, I think the shortcuts bothered me less than it bothered you guys. However, they become a bit inexcusable when you consider the amount of like ridiculous filler that was in the season, specifically with the Arya storyline. Like nonsensical, like unimportant plot points that had no actual consequence. So why include those and then also make shortcuts with other characters? Like I can understand shortcuts if you're trying to get to something that's good. But if you're making shortcuts and then also applying filler to the season, that's kind of dumb.
Yeah, I'm really glad you mentioned the Arya storyline because it was so bad. I love Arya. I think she's a great character. But man, that was a rough plot last season. I mean, it was pointless. The wheels just spun, and really, she left the same. So where she was at, she gets blinded at the end of season 5. After she basically has decided that she doesn't really want to follow the rules of the Faceless Men. And at the end of season 6, she still decides, I don't want to follow the rules of the Faceless Men, and she leaves. And also her magical ability her and Varys have the magical ability to teleport all over the Westeros, apparently. Just little things like that really bothered me.
It was the season 6 version of Dorne, basically. Like, it was, why did that storyline exist? Nobody liked it. Nobody wanted it. Like, it was just really silly. Is she as popular as like Tyrion and stuff? Because like Tyrion didn't have a lot to work with that season, I didn't feel, but it featured Arya really heavily. So I just thought the decision making in general about what to include and not to include was really odd.
Yeah, I think you guys hit it. Definitely last season there were some shortcuts taken, and Arya's always been sort of a favorite character of mine, but I have to agree with you. Even since she left the Hound, her story has been kind of meh. I know you guys remember her with the Hound. That was some of the best moments of the show for her. But definitely felt lackluster, and I definitely feel like last season was a fairly forgettable season, which is interesting. Like as you guys mentioned, there were a lot of things happening, but when I look back at it, I was kind of like, wait, what really happened? Like what I kind of remembered where we left off, but then the one thing that stuck out in my mind was the final episode with the Sept and Cersei and that whole deal, because just of the magnitude of that event. But outside of that, I was like, wait, what were the big events that happened last season? It felt very forgettable in a way to me, unfortunately.
You had the takeover in King's Landing, and you had the recapture of Winterfell.
Battle of the Bastards is pretty great. No, let's not shortchange Bran. He had a really cool storyline.
He did. They finally revealed the heritage of Jon Snow.
The heritage of Jon Snow, that he's in fact the daughter of Rhaegar and Lyanna Stark. I still really hope we get more into that, because that there's some real significance there. That scene that gave us the how and the what, but it didn't give us the why, which for me, that's really the most important part. We lost Hodor, and I watched it again. I still teared up. I still cried. I was really sad when Hodor bit it.
That was probably one of the worst moments in the show. Like on an emotional level, just the way that plays out, like even watching it back was just it was terrible. You don't even want, like, as you're watching it, you just want to shut it off because you can't handle it. Like, it's just so bad. So that moment's definitely one of the more powerful moments throughout the season.
It's just sad. It's just a very sad moment. And there were the moment, and again, I think season 6 was just as good as any season at delivering those big moments. The big moments, it was great. It was everything else that I was less enthused about. And it's a bummer because, yes, it is really cool to see Game of Thrones heading towards a big conclusion. And yes, it is very cool to see our characters come together. But it felt like the writers made the conscious decision, probably in season 5 or 6, season 5 territory. Okay, we need to wrap this show up. So what do we need to do to get it to where it needs to go? Now let's go ahead and jump right into the North. Where are our characters at? Well, Jon Snow is now the new King of the North. He beat Ramsay Bolton in the Battle of the Bastards. So the big question is, and now again, I think he didn't really want it, but he's got it. So the question is, where does Jon go from there? Does he stay in the North? Does he go seek vengeance on Cersei Lannister?
I don't think he's interested in vengeance. No, I think he is solely 100% interested in defending from the White Walkers. And honestly, I think he would side with the Lannisters, that the Lannisters would send their army up to help.
Yeah, I'm with Austin on that one for sure. Definitely think his main goal is doing whatever he can to prepare for the onslaught of what will be the White Walkers, and whatever he needs to do to get as many people as he can to on his side about that. I definitely think that's what his story is this season.
So you think his whole goal is going to be to rally more support to the North in order to fight the White Walkers?
Yeah, whatever support he can get. If that means that, it, like Austin said, if that's Lannisters, if that's somehow he gets in contact with somebody with Daenerys or whatever scenario that might be, convincing people that this is a real threat and that if they don't do this, it doesn't matter who is on the throne, that they were all going to die. I think that's his goal for the season.
I agree 100%.
Yeah, I completely agree with that. But I think there are going to be some challenges
for sure.
Involved. There's this little thing called Sansa, who probably I think that she wants the throne, or at least wants the credit for winning the Battle of the Bastards. Because let's not forget, she did summon Baelish in with all of the Eyrie to come and basically save the day. And, she's not wrong. Now, there's some weird. Also, it's a complex situation, though. She did do that, and I think she does deserve the credit. However, there's some weird politicking going on there because, as you recall, she withheld that information.
I think Jon would cede over power to her if she really wanted it, but at the same time, I think Sansa's smart enough to read the room and understand that everyone is aligning behind Jon, and she would probably be willing to seek out other opportunities, which
Baelish
I
says
think we know where those opportunities
he made himself
lie.
Okay, so Stella, we're going to bring this back to Baelish's vulnerability. And he had I actually do believe, now it could be calculated transparency, it could be calculated softness, but I think he had a very real moment with Sansa in the season 6 finale where he's basically like, listen, I have a dream that I am on the Iron Throne and you're by my side, and everything I do, have done, am doing, and will do is to make sure that I am one step closer to fulfilling that picture and that dream. I think he's being pretty honest about that. Now, I think, again, because it's Baelish, it's always calculated, but I think what he is going to do is he is going to do all he can to sow seeds of distrust between Sansa and Jon, to try and convince her either to A, leave with him, but more likely, I still think he's going to try and get her to usurp power and get the armies so that he can go march south.
I definitely agree with you on that one, Caleb. After I watched the finale again, and I was able to do it in a much more calm setting, I definitely read that scene the same way as you're talking about. There was a definitely the sense of he thinks that he wants her to be in the position, and any distrust that he can create between the two of them only benefits him. And I definitely agree with you that there will be challenges moving forward between Jon and Sansa and how that is all going to play out.
I really do think they set up where this storyline's going this season at the end of last season, because you had the scene between Sansa and Jon where he's like, you don't trust Littlefinger. She's like, well, only a fool would trust him. But she's got that look on her face like, yeah, but I still think he's kind of right, about the power thing. But she just doesn't want to say it. So, yeah, I think that's definitely going to be an issue. Now, here's another potential threat. Sansa is, even if Jon's heritage aside, Sansa's still not technically the next in line anyway, because Bran Stark is still alive, and he is heading back down towards Winterfell. So what happens if he shows up? He's going to throw kind of a wrench in those plans, wouldn't you say?
I would think Bran would be interested in ruling the throne. I feel like he has a sense of purpose and a sense of destiny about him, wherein if he feels like he can affect history and make things better, he would absolutely want the throne in the north. And I think he'd be a great king. I've said from the beginning that I would root for him to win the Iron Throne eventually, though I doubt that happens.
That reminds me of, if you guys can remember all the way back at the end of season 1, little beginnings of season 2, I think, where Bran was the only Stark left in Winterfell. And he actually, held meetings in the hall and attended to the people's problems and did those sorts of things. So he definitely has had to do that, even at his young age, has experienced that, as Robb had run off, Jon was gone, Sansa and Arya and Ned were all down in King's Landing, so he was the one kind of running the show there for a couple episodes. So I definitely could see him sitting in that spot.
That's a really good point. Yeah,
I think more than likely he probably is the one who ends up in Winterfell. I don't think he's going to end up on the Iron Throne, and truth be told, I don't think anyone's going to end up on the Iron Throne, but I think if Bran has a role to play, it's probably sitting in Winterfell as the ruler, or the lord over Winterfell. I'm not sure what happens to Jon. I'm not sure what happens to Sansa. They both might die. I still am of the mind that there's not going to be an Iron Throne when it's done. Yeah, so do we think we're going to see any more visions with Bran? I mean, I would love to see. I still think there's more to be mined from the Robert's Rebellion. What do you guys think?
One thing you had mentioned earlier, Caleb, that I definitely agree with, just wanted to talk about it really quick. We talked as I was rewatching the season 6 vision, there's that whole moment where Lyanna leans into Ned, and then they kind of you can't hear what she says or whatever. That was totally frustrating. But going back to the Bran thing, I think we'll definitely see more visions. I mean, he literally says I am the three-eyed raven now, and I definitely think he'll be accessing information some way, and we'll figure something out that it will be necessary to know for what might to come. Maybe he's able to go all the way back to when White Walkers were around before, and he can figure out a way that they were able to be stopped or something like that. He can find out some crucial piece of information that is vital to stopping them. So I definitely think that we'll be seeing more visions from him, and he'll become a very important piece.
He's an extremely effective plot device, honestly. He's the only real way they tell backstory. And I think it's extremely significant that there's a weirwood tree in Winterfell. So I do think eventually he'll be there. He will, quote unquote, rule Winterfell and be tapped into the weirwood tree in order to gain the knowledge needed in order to save Westeros.
Yeah, I think so. I think he is definitely sitting on a lot of critical information. In fact, and not only that, I do wonder, I think we're going to see some more stuff with the Mad King. You guys, it wasn't in the finale, but there was a really cool sequence in episode 6 of last season where we saw after, Hodor had been killed, Bran was still seeing visions from the three-eyed raven. It's kind of like he downloaded them to his brain or whatnot. And one of them was the Mad King screaming, "Burn them all," which, by the way, was a really cool incorporation of that whole history. I never thought we were ever going to return to that at all. I thought it was going to be left to Jaime's monologue in season 1, but no, it was a really cool sequence. So I do think we might see a little more from the Mad King. I think we're going to see more on Robert's rebellion. At least I really hope so. But yeah, I also am betting we find out some pretty crucial information on the night how to stop the Night's King and the White Walkers. So I definitely think that's something we're going to be looking at.
Yeah, him coupled with the research that Sam is doing, I think is going to be basically the key for defeating them.
Yeah, so speaking of Sam, Austin, I'm glad you brought Sam up. So how are you feeling about that, Austin? Sam has been in timeout in the library for a good long while. Are you ready to become reacclimated with him?
No, I wish he'd go away, but I am also a reasonable person, and I understand that he's probably going to be the person to save the day.
So what happens if he's the one who kills the Night's King? What do you say to that, Austin?
He won't kill him. He just provides the information for Jon Snow to kill him. That's the key.
He's got a Valyrian sword. Valyrian sword, man. Just saying.
If he's the person, I quit this show and I delete every episode of this podcast. No one will ever be able to listen to this ever again.
Oh my God. Okay, so there you go. Austin is still anti-Sam. I am really curious to see what Sam learns in the library. Honestly, I'm not especially invested in that character in his storyline at this point, other than he's probably going to find some one or two really critical pieces of information Jon or someone needs. So Arya is also on her way to Winterfell. It appears. Last seen in the Riverlands feeding Walder Frey pieces of his nephews or sons or something like that.
By the way, watching that back, that was that was so messed up. I watched it the first time. Obviously, I thought the same thing, but I was watching it back the second time. Her face and the face that she's making while she's doing that is so she has gone so far dark. It's scary how far she is. It's bad, guys.
It was fantastic. I loved it.
You guys are... Austin, you're sadistic. Arya Stark is a freaking serial killer. Okay? Yeah. I'm not okay with that.
Have you seen the people in this show? There needs to be a serial killer.
I mean, why not? Why not add Michael Myers to the mix? Why not? We've already got everyone else. Firstly, I really don't like that she got all the way from Braavos to, the Riverlands in the course of one episode's time. And so that was dumb. And I've really not... Here's the thing about Game of Thrones, and we've talked about this over the years, but I'm going to remind maybe some new listeners again. One of my favorite things about Game of Thrones that it does is it's very ambiguous as to whether or not you're supposed to like the violence. And actually, I would say by and large, they're probably hoping that you won't like it because it's so grisly and dark and twisted. And the thing about Arya is she has slowly seen her soul chipped away bit by bit throughout the entire series, and it's kind of tragic and sad. So when I see people in the audience and on the internet going, "Yeah, she killed Walder Frey," I'm like, guys, that's kind of messed up. The fact that she does it in a pretty sadistic manner, kind of the same way she did with what was his name, the soldier she did in season 5, right?
But we like it because it's messed up. That's the whole reason it's enjoyable. It's like the Saw kind of thing. It's the Saw of the Westeros universe.
So wait, are you a Jigsaw fanboy?
I want to play a game.
Because John Kramer is also a bad guy.
She's totally corrupted at this point, right? There's really no saving Arya. She's going to die a tragic figure. If she's gonna die a tragic figure, she might as well get rid of a bunch of the assholes in Westeros too. So, I was working on that.
She's Dexter, is what she is.
Dexter was also a bad guy. I don't understand people who watched that show and was rooting for him. He was a bad guy. Guys, okay, just throwing this out there. Walter White in Breaking Bad, Bad guy. Do not root for that guy. He's a monster. He's an egomaniac, okay? Dexter Morgan is a sociopath. Yes, he kills killers, but he also
not
kills...
a bad guy. He's an anti-hero. That's
oh
not
my
bad.
God. Shut the hell up, Austin. These are bad people. I know, like, that's kind of the entertainment value comes from the tension of, ooh, should I root for them or not? But there's a certain point, at least in my book, when someone crosses those lines, it's like, do I really want to root for this person anymore? And for me, Arya has crossed that line. I think it's sadistic. I kind of hope that one of the other Starks kills her or tries to stop her.
I mean,
I don't know.
Arya's not that much different than Cersei at this point.
And Cersei's a bad person, a very truly awful person who's also kind of a sociopath in her own right. Yes.
Cersei is my queen. She's fantastic.
Austin, she committed genocide last season.
And they were all a bunch of bastards. Now they're dead. It's great.
Marjorie Tyrell was in there. She was not bad. Like, there's plenty of there tons of innocent people in that place.
Well, I wouldn't say Marjorie Tyrell's not exactly innocent, but
most importantly, the High Sparrow was killed, so that offsets everything.
Okay. But
she killed one really bad religious zealot.
She did that to kill like 5 or 6 people that she didn't like, and she ended up killing like
probably hundreds. I mean, the poor people in the streets who got killed by the bell. I mean, I know it was quadruple points and double XP weekend that day, but God, that was terrible.
She just moments, literally like minutes after that, she goes in there and tortures a lady and says that her happiest moment of her entire life was watching those people burn alive. Like, she literally says it was the happiest moment of her life.
Come on. This was undeniably badass, though. Come on.
Okay. One last thing, Austin. I'm just going to throw this out there. And you know what? No, I'll give it to you. It was badass. We talked about it last season. Her sipping on the wine in that badass sexy as hell dress while she laughed maniacally in her mind after they'd all been blown up. That's bad fucking ass. But you know what? That's also terribly evil. And also, I want to cap off the Cersei talk with one point.
What can I say? Sometimes villains are cool.
Villains are pretty cool. I'll give it to you. They're cool, Austin. That's all that matters, right?
Yeah, pretty much.
Listen. Instead of go to comfort her son, whose wife she just killed. She just killed her son's wife and his entire belief system. Instead of going to comfort him, she instead chose to go down to the dungeon to torture the nun and then proceed to let said nun get raped by a zombie. I'm just throwing this out there, okay? I mean, I think Cersei is a great character, a wonderfully written character, one of probably the best characters in modern fiction.
Do not pretend that anyone actually enjoyed watching Tommen.
I mean, he's
really, no one cared about him. He might as well be dead because he was just like, everyone forgot that he even existed.
I'll give you this. I did not give 2 shits about Tommen, but you know what? We lost. You know what we lost? We lost Sir Pounce. And
now I will say this: I rewatched that last episode, which I did not rewatch the whole season. Forgive me, audience, but I rewatched the last episode, and that death scene with Tommen was by far the most gruesome. Even though you saw nothing, like it still like hits you the hardest. And like ends up being the most gruesome death scene of probably the entire season. It's because of what you don't know that makes it gruesome.
Yeah, I was about to say this. Yeah, I was about to say the same thing. That scene forever is like ingrained in my brain. Like when I watched him, let's turn around and just.
Okay, and I'll re-articulate this again for the listener one more time. The thing that Game of Thrones does best, one of the things it does the best, and one of the reasons I think it's one of the most brilliant shows on TV, at least in the last 10 years, is we think we want these things. We think we want vengeance. We think we want to see the bad guys get their comeuppance. But here's the thing. Whenever that happens, it's never satisfying. Not only is it not satisfying, like we feel kind of dirty when it goes down, right? And Firstly, I think season 6 lost a little bit of that because Arya killing Walder Frey was definitely a victorious moment with no repercussion. But I do think to your point, seeing Tommen bite it was very tragic and sad, even though we didn't really care for that character a whole lot, especially since he was so innocent. You know, his soul was so innocent, I guess. So I don't know. I am really interested to see what happens with Cersei this season. So speaking of Cersei, what do we think Jaime's going to do? Now,
Kill her.
He's not going to kill her, but he's 100% done with her.
He's
he's
going
going
to
to kill her. He's going to kill her.
He's going to kill her.
You think so?
Oh, yeah.
She literally did the thing that he killed the Mad King for, like, what he was threatening to do. Like, he was threatening to burn people alive. She literally burned people alive.
I don't think he kills her.
Oh,
I think he just leaves.
Not only that, their last child committed suicide.
I'll put it this way. He does not walk up and then fucking stab her.
No, it's going to take the whole it'll take the season for him to get there, but he'll do it.
He will leave. He will go help the Starks, and then they'll march down or go help Daenerys. And like it's going to be a bigger thing than just him assassinating her. It's going to be like a war in which Cersei dies.
I think Jaime Lannister is the man who says nothing, does nothing, plays the game until the Starks or Daenerys shows up at the gates, and then he opens the gates. And then I think what happens from there, he opens the gates, and then there's a climactic confrontation where she asks him why, and that's when he stabs her with the sword.
I think he is responsible for the death, but I don't think he does it by his own hands.
Okay, interesting.
But it's obviously like very poetic that way, but I think that's how it happens.
And that's precisely why I don't think he does it.
Well, I think you raised a good... So here's the kind of the conundrum with Game of Thrones, right? Let's not forget the prophecy that Cersei was told as a girl, that her 3 children would all be murdered and that she would die by the hands of her brother. Now, it's not specified which brother, and the show hasn't really gone into that last part very much about getting killed by her brother. But, however, in the books, she is certain that it's Tyrion, which is one of the many reasons she is terrified of him and pushes him his way at every corner. But I'm convinced it's going to be Jaime. Now, because this is Game of Thrones, that could be George R. R. Martin setting us up to think it's going to go one way just so he could rewrite it and then undo it and subvert expectations, because he loves doing that. And David Benioff and D.B. Weiss are the same way as a showrunner. So, Austin, I think you raised a great point. Game of Thrones never plays into expectations. It seems too poetic and too obvious. So, either way, I'm satisfied, personally.
Seriously, though, she's a fantastic character, and I will definitely hate to see her go.
Oh, the second she goes, this show loses something really special. She is a lot of... I mean, really, the whole Lannister trio, her, Tyrion, and Jaime, really are, in a lot of ways, the spine of the show. I mean, more so than the Starks.
They are. They really are.
Now, that'll take us to our last little area here, which is Daenerys crossing the Narrow Sea. And I just want to throw out one quick little tidbit here about the Hound and the Brotherhood Without Banners. They are down in the Riverlands. I am really not sure who those guys are going to end up with. I'm gonna imagine, because they're worshippers of R'hllor, the Lord of Light, that they're probably going to end up with Daenerys just because dragons. But they're kind of I think they're a wild card team right now, and that includes the Hound. What do you guys think, Austin?
I think Melisandre meets up with them first. I think that's the only other people she's probably ever met and like connected with in any way. So I think that's where she's heading after she got cast out by Jon. But yeah, I think that eventually they do connect with Daenerys, because it seems to make the most sense.
At this point, like, it's stacked on her side. I mean, she's got so many people on her side now. It feels almost impossible for her not to win by this point, which is kind of crazy because, at the beginning of the season, she wasn't even headed towards Westeros yet. But now, by the end of the season, she's like got 5 different houses backing her, and then you've got the North, and then you've got the Lannisters, and those are the only other 2 major houses. All the other houses are backing her or not around.
I honestly don't see Daenerys going to war with Jon Snow at all. I don't really feel like there's a conflict
I don't
there.
think Jon's interested in that type of political war.
Not at all.
The only thing I could think about is at one point she did talk about ruling all of them, and the North has kind of taken the stance of they want to be kind of independent from the kingdom, so maybe there's a point of contention there, but that's like trying to really nitpick and find something.
So here's what I see happening. I think Daenerys technically wins the throne, but I don't think she sits on the throne. I think she will eventually like cede over power to some sort of new form of government, because I don't think the throne will exist when it's all over.
I don't either. I think she might even die, honestly.
Potentially, but I think she dies after winning.
Oh, yes,
I guess.
yes, yeah. I'm confident that the zombie White Walkers are not going to win. But That said, I do think that the victory is going to come at a great cost. I honestly don't know what that's going to look like, but I do think it's going to come at a great cost because, again, I think George R. R. Martin once said that the conclusion of Game of Thrones would be something like a cold wind blowing over an icy grave or something like that. He's described it as a bittersweet ending in the past, and I do think it's going to be bittersweet. So I think there is going to be a lot of surprises and how it all plays out. So I'm really excited to see how it concludes, but we got time. I don't think that there's going to be an Iron Throne, and I don't think Daenerys is going to be on it.
I agree with you.
Now, here's one wild card, Austin. Euron Greyjoy.
Yes, that is a wild card.
He is another wild card, much like the Brotherhood Without Banners. He's convinced that he is going to win over Daenerys. Now, Daenerys in episode 8 met with Yara and Theon, and they have a forged alliance. Okay.
I don't know what to do with Euron, but I do think it is totally possible that he marries Daenerys, which is insane because
she did talk about marrying someone.
I think she probably makes a political marriage at some point. And I was trying to go through like a list in my head of what makes sense for her to do a political marriage with. And your obvious choices are like Euron, Jaime, maybe
Jon. No, it can't be Jaime.
But Jon gets a little weird, right?
But they don't know that.
But they will. Everyone's gonna know.
And she's also a Targaryen. It's not like they haven't done that before.
It's true. It's true. But the Jon thing feels too fan fiction-y, so I don't know. I don't think that's gonna go down that road.
Yeah, I mean that would literally be fire and ice, like literally.
Yeah. So
I'm making them fire nest incest babies. Ugh.
I think they're gonna be more like brother and sister when the time comes, than like husband and wife. So it's possible that Euron Greyjoy, they do marry. Maybe she kills Euron at some point, because I could totally see that happening too. I mean, I'll take any Greyjoy really. So,
oh, wow.
Even Euron.
Even Euron,
he says ridiculous. Yeah. He says ridiculous racist stuff.
But he's a pirate, so.
Austin, did 2016 teach us nothing? Did it teach us nothing? On that note, what did the Dornish and the Tyrells do, ladies and gentlemen?
Well, they're on Daenerys' side, right? Like, if I recall, I even saw Dorne ships in that fleet of Targaryen.
They are indeed, because Varys shows up down in Dorne.
Yeah, and then shows up on the ship.
Yeah, he just magically teleports over there. And he basically brokers a deal with both Dorne and the Tyrells, who basically are only out for vengeance. They want to kill Cersei, and Daenerys is going to enable that for them.
It would be cool to see Olenna kill Cersei.
But they might get one really cool another verbal jousting, if you know what I mean.
Yeah, I would like to see that conversation after she knows that Cersei, like, literally killed her entire family. Like, I would want to see her do something with that.
I don't think Olenna makes it. She's dead.
Oh, Elena's probably going to die. Actually, I'm pretty certain she's dead this season. She's out for blood vengeance, too. She has nothing. Her entire bloodline is dead now. So she's really just like, if I'm going down, I'm taking you with me.
It really sucks. Like, I really liked her, like, and the Tyrells, but they just got, they just got screwed.
Well, I'm telling you, the Dave and the Benioff and Weiss are just like, crap, guys. We gotta get these chess pieces in place, and the only way to do that's by killing a few queens and pawns. Okay.
They couldn't do that with Dorne because that was all trash down there. It was horrible.
Oh god, Dorne's the worst storyline. Especially, I mean, it was bad in season 5, and it was so bad that they're just like, hey guys, what if we just staged a coup and never went back to it until the end of the season? So one last thing I want to note before we wrap our kind of recap here. Jorah, he was last seen ordered to find a cure. And guys, call me a wimp. I might have teared up pretty hard in that last scene. There's this really beautiful scene between Daenerys and Jorah where she's like, you left me 2 times, but you still came back. What do I do? Oh, you're sick. Well, and he tries to leave and she says, I'm not dismissing you. You're not leaving until I dismiss you. I order you to go find a cure. And I need you by my side when I take Westeros. That was a movie moment. I might be in the minority. I know Jorah's an older dude, and I know Daenerys is younger, but I don't ship that, but I do feel deeply for that relationship and want to see it turn out well. What do you guys think is going on there this season?
Jorah's done. You're never going to see that man again.
Are you serious? You don't think we're going to see Jorah again?
No, that was his exit, man. He's gone. He went off into the sunset to find a cure that he's never going to find. He's going to die a petrified man. I mean, are you guys living in a universe where George R. R. Martin gives happy endings? Because I'm not.
I mean, to be fair, he has told us it's not going to be happy ending several times.
Okay, still bring the optimism here. What's going on?
Oh yeah,
Jorah?
Jorah's going to go and that's Sam. Sam is going to read about a cure, and then Jorah's just going to happen to walk in there, and boom, he cures him, and then they go and they join Jon's army and they defeat the White Walkers together.
I hope the White Walkers overrun that place. Turn them all into zombies.
Like the first thing, like no, it's gonna be on a cliff too. It's gonna be like Sam's like, oh, the answer to our solution, and then through the chest, ice
He's
dagger.
like, wait, I can fix
White
everything. You just gotta.
Yeah. You know what? I appreciate. I mean, I think the optimism there is great. I was more like, hey, Jorah is gonna hook up with Daenerys, and they're gonna get it on the back of a pony or actually a dragon. But I think your option there might be a little more realistic. I think that Jorah is probably only in like 1 or 2 episodes towards the end. I think he's out for pretty much all of early season, and I think we're gonna see him come back, but he's gonna be even more petrified. I'm gonna be real about this. I think he still has a role to play. I just don't know what it is, and that's kind of been Jorah for the last couple of seasons. Like, he's still clearly important. He means a lot to Daenerys. He's got skill, and he's not going away. He's too loyal to go away, but I don't know what his purpose is quite yet. And I hope we find out this season, and I hope it's not something stupid like self-sacrifice or meaningless death.
Yeah, I agree with you. I like Jorah. I hope somehow it ends well for him, but it's Game of Thrones, so probably not. But I hope it does. I really like Jorah. So
well, guys, that's been a great kind of touch point on most of our seasons, where we left our characters off on season 6. So a few quick questions on our predictions. We've already kind of alluded to a lot of our predictions here, but I just want to hit on a couple. How long do you think we wait before we start to see these plot lines directly intersect? Now, remember, we've only got 7 episodes this season, and it's been implied that they're going to be longer, with the season 7 finale being, I believe, it's like 82 minutes, so a feature-length film? Yeah, almost a feature-length film. So how long do we think we wait? Is this going to be like first episode, like boom?
I think by episode 2, for sure, they start running into each other. I think you'll see characters from the different plot lines talking to each other by episode 2.
Stoll?
I wouldn't say episode 2. I'd say there's only 7 episodes, so I can't say much farther than that. But I would say like 4. Like, we start seeing like White Walker, Jon Snow battles. We're seeing Daenerys walking around in Westeros, maybe even heading up towards King's Landing. I mean, it's going to happen fast.
Okay, yeah, no, I agree. I'm going to be with Austin. I think it's going to be a little on the faster side. I'm going to go ahead and make my bet on episode 3. And the reason I say that is... Yeah, the reason I say this, because I do think we're going to have at least 1, if not 2 episodes to see all these plot lines organize themselves. Now, obviously, at the end of last season, they were all coming together, but they weren't quite, like they're not all quite organized in the ducks in a row. And episode 1 is always a setup. So, I mean, I think there'll be some overlap with some of these small storylines, but I think what it's going to be is we're going to see all of our pieces move into their distinct locations. So, Daenerys is going to make land somewhere in Westeros. Okay, so anyway, she's going to make landfall. And then I think we're going to see them figure out what that's going to look like. And then I think, John, I do think early on, episode 1 or 2, we're going to see a Stark reunion. And then I think we're going to see Jaime and Cersei kind of have at each other for the first episode, maybe 2.
Stark reunion will be Arya, not Bran, I think.
By episode 3, I think all the Starks will be back in Winterfell. Because they're all really close. Arya's in the Riverlands and Bran's south of the Wall. So... I don't know.
And Arya can teleport like instantly.
Right. That was one of the powers they forgot to show us. Her training on how to teleport. You're right. She'll be there by probably the first scene, actually. Okay. So,
the first thing it opens up, Arya walks in to say hi to Sansa. That's the
first scene. Here's the next question. If we're gonna pick 2 characters who are going to die this season, just 2, who is going to die? Now, so what play into our game? I just want to get your hot take. 2 characters. You're like, all right, if I had to make my guess, these 2 characters are going to bite it. Who would you go with? Austin, we'll start with you.
Cersei, because I think that's an easy one. And Petyr Baelish is my kind of sleeper pick.
think those are both great picks. Daniel?
Cersei, I agree right off the bat. I think that one's it's an easy pick, but I think it's definitely going to happen this season. For my second pick, I'm going to go with Arya.
Fair
Ooh,
pick.
Arya.
I like it.
Even though I would not hate that because there is a part of me that really loves Arya, but I think Arya.
I want to see Arya before I will not be able to determine how I feel where she's going until we get a couple episodes in. She has to create a purpose in the story that she does not currently have. Like
No,
every
she
other
doesn't.
character I can think of has a role to play right now. Arya's role right now is being a badass Batman assassin, or actually Punisher assassin rather. So I don't really see where that fits into everything other than the Starks having a really cool hitman they can call on. So I think she's probably the most expendable of the group right now. So I think that's a good pick. I also would go with Baelish. It pains my soul. I hope I am so wrong. But I have been saying since this podcast started that he was going to make it to the end and then he was going to die some way. Now, there's been some speculation on how that's going to go down. Sansa taking him down seems like a pretty reasonable pick, almost too reasonable for Game of Thrones. So I'm really interested to see where that goes. But there's also the idea that what happens if Petyr Baelish does get close enough to the White Walkers or the dragons, or quite frankly, what if Petyr Baelish has to confront Tyrion Lannister and Daenerys in the throne room? What would that look like? Because we know Tyrion does not trust Baelish, and we know that Daenerys doesn't really have much restraint. She'll feed people the dragons, no problem. And so what happens when Baelish encounters people he cannot reason with? Because that's the thing. His strength is being able to reason with people. And I think he is... And also, lastly, I think you're right still. He is the most vulnerable he's ever been. He is solidly declared for House Stark and for House Aaron. Up until last season, he had never declared. He'd always thrived on the chaos and King's Landing to get more and more power. But now he's actually had to pick a side. And what happens if the side he's on loses? Or what happens if the people's side he picked don't like him? So I think he's actually in the danger zone big time this season. And because I don't want to copy Austin, because I do think Cersei is a really good pick, because I think she's, by the end of the season, I think either the dragons are going to get to her, Jaime's going to stab her, or Austin's right, maybe the people of King's Landing would kill her. I'd be really about that, actually. I want to say Melisandre bites it this season. Now, that's kind of a little wild card pick. She's not a main character, but I also kind of like Arya, don't really fully understand her role other than a potential advisor to Daenerys. So we'll see how that goes. She's been banished by Jon Snow, and I think there's going to be some bad blood there. I wonder if she doesn't go to Daenerys, or hell, maybe she can just go to Cersei to give key information. So about what's going down up in north. So I'm really interested to see how that plays out. So my next question is, who are we actually rooting for in this scenario? Stoll.
I'm always on Team Stark. Let's go.
My fantasy league team is Dumb Stark Killers, right?
Hey, the team has no name.
I mean, if we have to pick from storylines, I guess it's Daenerys. But that's because the Greyjoys are with her. But truthfully, I either want Theon to be redeemed more or less to fix all the wrongs in some way, which he started doing, but he's not totally there yet. Or I want Bran to really come to meet his true potential. So I mean, I kind of cross the lines, but if I had to pick a storyline, it's got to be Daenerys, I guess.
I think that finally we'll get to see Tyrion and Daenerys have some quality scenes. Now, because we actually, if you look back the last two seasons, we have not gotten many scenes with the two of them together, but the scenes they've had have been dynamite. Great scenes. Even the finale, where we're in the great, are you scared? Good, because we're in the great game now. That's a great scene. Or going back to season 5, the speech about the wheel. That's a great scene. So I think the two of them make a really compelling leadership team. And while my interest in Daenerys is purely as shallow as it gets, she's just really hot. She's got and she's got charisma and energy. She's a person I want to like and believe in her mission. But I really just am interested to see how Tyrion operates as the brains of the operation to help make her make these really good strategic decisions. So I'm really excited to see how that plays out.
She's finally picked good advisors, honestly.
She is.
She's learning.
She is.
But more importantly, she has dragons. So that's all that's really important here.
And the dragons.
What I think is more interesting, real quick, who's going to be the first character that we like to kill someone that we like? Because that's going to happen.
Oh yeah,
at
this
some point.
season it's going down. It's inevitable.
Like when Arya kills Jon Snow.
That could happen.
That.
No, but what? Okay.
I mean, he
what
can just
happens?
come back to life. He pops right back up.
The character I am most concerned with in that scenario is Jaime, because he's a Lannister and he doesn't have Daenerys to back him up. He is with Cersei,
who's on Arya's list that we like? Tyrion,
all the Lannisters really.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. Like, what happens when Arya kills Tyrion?
I swear to God, if
how are we
Arya
gonna handle
kills
that?
Tyrion or Jaime,
everyone will turn on Arya. Arya's done.
Dude, I've already turned on her. She does that. There's no coming back.
Yeah, but so let's say they're having a battle like Jon Snow kills Jaime, because he would do that. Like, he would totally kill Jaime. So, but I love both those characters. So that's gonna be so
that's what I'm
hard.
saying. Whenever Jaime encounters anyone who's not Cersei, he is in danger zone. I'm like dead. Because that's the thing. He's on the wrong side. Like, he's a good guy. He's a character we believe in. The only person who might try and defend him maybe is Brienne. Tyrion and Brienne. That's about it. Yeah.
I think if Jaime goes, I think he goes to Daenerys, because Tyrion will vouch for him and it'll all work out for him.
I don't know, because he really did not like Tyrion for killing his father. That was hard for him to handle.
I think the situation has changed.
I mean, I
Jaime
think you're
at this
right.
point.
If he ends up somewhere, that's probably where. But he definitely had some problems with Tyrion killing.
He did, and the show doesn't get quite as into it as the book adaptations do. But moving on, gentlemen, we could talk about this all night. So I think that'll about wrap our predictions for this season. I guess very quickly, if there is one thing you just want to see, like if in a dream world you could pick any moment to happen in Game of Thrones season 7, what would it be? Daniel, any cool moment?
Well, you said season 7, so it wouldn't happen in season 7. But I'm ready to see dragons versus White Walkers. I'm ready to get to there. I don't know if we see that all the way in season 7. I think that's the lead up to the final of 8. But I'm ready to see everything, just the culmination of everything, just happen. So,
Austin,
I want to see Theon reunite with the Starks, like truthfully, like accepted back into the family.
That would be beautiful. And yeah, I don't know, man. That Austin, that if that actually happened and they actually accepted him, that could be a really powerful, emotional moment where people actually chose love over vengeance. Wouldn't that be a sight to see on this TV show?
Mm-hmm.
But it's not going to happen.
Probably not.
It's a great dream, though. It's a beautiful dream.
You asked for a dream.
I did.
I gave you my dream.
And instead of picking a nice, heartwarming, great moment like that, Austin, I just really hope Jaime stabs Cersei in the back. I mean, I just want to see it so badly. I just think, yes, I don't want, I love Game of Thrones throwing the plot twists at me and keeping me on my toes. But at the end of the day, that's a moment he has earned. I don't know if the show has done it quite as well as the books, but I still think he's earned that moment. And honestly, I don't know what he does after that. So we'll see. But I think right now, that's the moment I want to see. Now, I think that about wraps our predictions. But one thing we're going to do this season is we're going to spice things up a little bit. We're going to have a little bit of a game. We're going to have a little bit of a wager, you could say. So we are actually going to be doing a fantasy league between the three of us and a few of our friends. We'll be inviting to our league where we will be keeping score of who gets the most shit right in Game of Thrones season 7. So who lives, who dies, who gets naked, who stabs who in the back. These are the hard questions, and we're going to be having a little competition. We have yet to do our draft, and that'll be something we'll talk about in next week's show. But this is something that is coming, and we are actually going, if you want to participate or play along with us, this is actually the Fantasizer Game of Thrones Season 7 game that you can play.
That I can't tell you, but we'll tweet out a link if you guys want to join one of the public leagues or start your own league at home. with your friends. Basically, just you select characters from the show. You're scored based on who they kill, whether or not they get naked, do they have witty one-liners, just a number of scoring opportunities. Check it out. It looks to be a lot of fun. We're really excited about it. We're going to place some wagers on which of the three of us gets the most points this season, though I don't think we've totally decided what that's going to be just yet.
I just know that whatever happens, I'm going to get something cool out of it because I'm going to win.
I mean, it's all about the sleeper picks, Caleb, and you being a fantasy noob, I don't know if you can pull it off.
Listen, I am not a fantasy player. Austin can attest. I did in fact do a fantasy football league a couple years ago, and I was not in dead last. But I did.
He drafted 2 players that were no longer in the NFL on his team.
They had great stats the year before, Austin. That's what I was banking on. Okay, but this is Game of Thrones. I admittedly do not know the NFL, but I do know Game of Thrones. I know Game of Thrones oh so well, Austin, and I know that I will play.
You gonna draft Hodor? Is that your key?
Oh.
I am gonna draft Rob fucking Stark. Take that. And whenever he comes back as a White Walker zombie wolf thing and kills everyone, you're gonna be sad that you didn't pick him.
Because he's got that wolf head stitched to his body right now?
Exactly.
Oh.
Exactly.
That would be terrifying.
So, you know what? If you want to play along with us, either in a public league, creating your own league, or just watching us do our weekly updates of our own leagues, including our draft picks, you can head on over to our social media pages on the Cast Beyond the Wall, which can be found at facebook.com/Cast Beyond the Wall, or on Twitter at cast_beyond_GOT. If you want to keep up with us, find us there. Give us a like, give us a follow. Tweet at us with your league. Tweet at us with your thoughts. Tweet at us with your predictions. We want this to be a conversation. The most important, my favorite thing about Game of Thrones and all this fun speculation is not just this little 3-person conversation we have here with occasional 4th guests. It is community. It is talking to you, the listener, about what you like about Game of Thrones. And if you want to keep up with us, to make sure you don't miss a beat in the upcoming season, make sure to get on your podcast app, whether that's iTunes, Stitcher Radio, Google Play, Podbean, whatever the case may be, Overcast. You get on that app and you head on over and look us up, The Cast Beyond the Wall, and you subscribe. New episodes will be sent straight to your device every single week. We'll be posting likely on Wednesday or Thursday morning. Subscribe and keep your eyes peeled to that feed. That way you will have the episode in your queue, ready to go the second we put it online. So we really want to have, and in order to have the best conversation and the fastest conversation, you got to listen and communicate with us. That means after you've listened, hit us up on the social media channels. We want to talk to you. Before we wrap the show, this really fun-filled Season 7 pre-cap, let's go ahead and do a quick prehash of Season 7, Episode 1, Dragonstone.
Enemies to the east. Enemies to the west. Enemies to the south. Enemies to the north. Whatever stands in our way, we will defeat it. We're the last Lannisters. The last ones who count.
I was born to rule the 7 kingdoms. And I will.
That was from the Season 7 Game of Thrones trailer. So, Austin, I didn't want to spoil it. I tried earlier to avoid it, but Dragonstone's going to have a role to play.
Yeah. I mean, the name, I didn't know the name until just now, but, I mean, it's a bit of a spoiler, but what are you going to do, right?
Well, you know, it's funny. Until 2 days ago, they didn't even have the titles out there. I actually had, this outline was blank until 2 days ago, and I was like, oh, hey, they finally put the titles out. So they waited.
Well, I can see why. They tried to hold back. They know it's a bit of a spoiler, I guess.
Here's kind of the brief synopsis of Season 7, Episode 1, Dragonstone. Jon organizes the defense of the North. Cersei tries to even the odds. Daenerys comes home. And Jaime takes a shit. God, that's so vague. So vague, these synopses.
It's basically exactly what happened in the last episode of Season 6. So, I mean, I guess we're just going to rewatch the same episode again.
All right. same episode. So what you're saying is I can hop on HBO Go right now.
Yeah,
and just watch
it's already out, guys. Go watch.
Oh, damn. Well, Stoll, do you have anything else you want to add on the title of season 7, episode 1?
No, I'm ready to get this going. I'm excited to be back with you guys, and it took a little longer this time, but we're back, and I'm excited to see where we're headed this season.
Awesome. All right, well, before we totally wrap up the show, gentlemen, where can people find you online if they want to continue the conversation with not just our official Game of Thrones pages? Where can they talk to you on the social media? Austin Lucari, we'll start with you.
You can follow me on Twitter if you like. My Twitter handle is aclucari. Mostly just complaining at companies for giving me bad service and retweeting Twitch streamers. So come check me out. If you want to complain about my opinions or my Sam hate, you can post that there.
You can find me on Twitter at Daniel Stoll23. That's DanielStull, the number 2, the number 3. I'd love to hear what you guys think. You can come tell me why all my opinions are correct. And yeah, come check me out.
Guys, he's a Stark lover. It's okay. You can tell him why his opinions are wrong. We're allowed to do that.
It's all about honor, and you will find a lot of honorable things on my Twitter feed.
Again, my fantasy league team name is Dum Dum Stark Killers. So, and of course, you can find me online doing all sorts of shenanigans, including occasionally movie reviews. Kind of on hiatus right now, but I do a lot of movie chatter on the Twitter. You can find me on that Twitter at C Masters Talk. That's letter C Masters Talk. I tweet about movies. I tweet about video games. I tweet about Game of Thrones. Lots of Game of Thrones these days. Very excited for the show to come back on. You can also find me on Letterboxd if you want to keep up with my movie viewing habits, or on Instagram at CMasters91. And lastly, if you like this podcast and want to see, hey, what else does Caleb do on the internet, you can also find all my work at calebmasters.net. Thanks so much for tuning in to our pre-season 7 discussion, ladies and gentlemen. I am so excited to be back. Make sure to tune in next week when we continue our conversation when we once again go Beyond the Wall.
I mean, you're not wrong, but they're the best spot they've ever been in. This is top level Greyjoy action right now.
This is top level Greyjoy, but sadly they're gonna fall brutally. And I think actually once we get into our fantasy league, you're gonna see pretty quickly that I'm betting that they're gonna get their asses eaten by dragons or White Walkers.
No.
Cersei.
The dragons are gonna love them. Dragons are gonna love them.
Oh, are they gonna be petting the dragons? Is that how it works?
They're gonna be riding the dragons. Greyjoys on dragons.
Greyjoys are not going to be. There's not going to be any Greyjoy on dragon action this season, Austin. That's not how this happens.
Greyjoy on dragons is how it's gonna.
Oh my god!
This is how the world is saved.